There are moments when reality slips, just enough to show us the cracks. A face seen twice when it shouldn't exist. A childhood memory rewritten in front of your eyes. Or a warning that comes from someone long gone. Tonight, we follow 3 encounters where the familiar turned impossible. And once you hear them, you might start to wonder, how steady is the ground beneath your own life? Ever had a moment where time didn't feel right? Like everything paused or shifted just for a second? You blink, and suddenly something's changed. A familiar place looks wrong. A stranger knows your name. You lose time. You tell yourself it's nothing. A tired mind, a coincidence. But what if it's not? Tonight we dive into real stories sent by people who experience something they can't explain. No ghosts, no monsters. Just reality breaking its own rules. Our first story comes from the midnight streets of North London. Paramedics are used to strange calls, but what they found inside a derelict tower block was more than a cry for help. It was a pattern, repeating itself, as if time itself was keeping score. North London, winter night shift, freezing damp air, the kind that seeps through your jacket, makes your bones ache. Me and Jake, we are paramedics on an ambulance. We're parked up near Holloway Road, half asleep, half buzzing on the garage coffee. Nothing glamorous about the job, just tired faces and waiting for the next shout. When suddenly, the radio crackled.
Unit 3-1, respond to possible mental health incident. Male, 30s, incoherent. Woodbury down 94, flat 13.
So we roll out. It's a tower block that hasn't been touched since the Thatcher years. Lift out, stairwell stinking of piss. One of the overhead lights flickering like mad. Door at the flat is ajar, latch hanging like it never catches right. Inside, different. Not just untidy, properly wrong. Stale food everywhere, bin bags split open, a smell like damp carpets mixed with marker ink. And the walls were covered in numbers. Columns of them scrawled down the plaster. Most had been crossed out in thick black strokes, but at the very end, one number was circled. Heavy, almost carved into the paint. 237. The man himself was sat in the corner, shirt off, same marker all down his arms like he'd run out of wall space. Eyes wide, but not seeing. Whispering under his breath, rocking slightly. We tried to get a response. Nothing useful, just garbled words. His pulse was steady, breathing fine, but clearly not right in the head. So we secured him, got him onto the trolley. Quiet ride. Straight into UCH. Handed him over to psych department. Doctors nodded. One said, "We'll sedate him, monitor him." We did the paperwork, shook it off. Just another odd call. Half an hour later, we're outside with new coffees. Worse than the first ones. Steam rising, rain starting to spit. We're joking about how the bloke's flat looked like something out of a cheap horror film. When the radio pings again.
Unit 3-1, respond to Woodbury Down 94, flat 13. White male, incoherent, unstable. Confirm, please.
I look at Jake. He looks at me. Can't be right. He's literally in psych now. I even radio control. They confirm. Fresh log, different caller, no error. So, against all sense, we drive back. Same building, same stairwell with the flickering light, same door hanging open, latch still loose. And inside, it's the same man, same corner, same rocking. But the walls, that's when I noticed. The numbers were all there, in the same places. Only now, the last one wasn't 237 anymore. It was 238, circled hard in red, just like before. Everything else, untouched. I crouched closer, straining to hear him. And clear as anything, he was muttering, slow and rhythmic. Late again. Late again. Late again. Jake swore under his breath. I felt my stomach drop. But we followed protocol, took him in again, handed him over again. And this time, the doctors looked at us like we were winding them up. One of them even said, "He's already here, sedated, therapy ward." So they checked. No guy, no file, no patient registered by that name. No record of us bringing him in half an hour earlier. Security tried to pull footage just to confirm. And of course, the exact window we'd first wheeled him in, the cameras were down. Scheduled maintenance. Whole wing. We were off duty the next 2 nights. When we came back, I asked around about him. One of the nurses shrugged, said he'd run away. No file, no paperwork, no discharge, just gone. A police report was filed, apparently, but as far as I ever heard, he was never found. Flat was seized by the council months later for unpaid bills and services. And that's all I ever had to know about it. I don't tell this story often, but I'll say this. Whenever I drive past that estate, I catch myself glancing at the radio, half expecting to hear his name again. And I can still see that number on the wall, circled in red. 237. Then 238. And his voice, clear as anything. "You're late again. You're late again. You're late again." Most cases end with a file, a diagnosis, a discharge. But this one, it vanished into silence, leaving behind only a number, etched deeper each time. A number that refused to stop climbing. The next story takes us somewhere quieter. A family garden, a tree that anchored a childhood. But sometimes the past we lean on isn't as solid as we think. Sometimes even the roots can change beneath us. So this happened when I first moved out for university. I was buzzing, to be honest. New city, new mates, parties, lectures I barely made it to. Everything felt exciting. But at night, when things got quiet, I'd get homesick. I missed my parents, missed the garden, even missed the daft smell of the old shed. One evening, I was feeling low, so I rang Mum and asked her to send me a few pictures of home. She's old school, doesn't really do WhatsApp, doesn't mess about with scanning. A few days later, a whole padded envelope arrives. Inside, the family photo album, the actual one from the living room shelf. I was over the moon. Spent the evening flicking through it. Birthdays, Christmas dinners, my sister in her school uniform, me with dodgy haircuts. Proper comfort. Then, I came across this page with a shot of the back garden. And I froze. See, we had this oak tree. Huge thing. Dominated the whole lawn. My entire childhood was wrapped around that tree. We built a wonky tree house with the neighbors, swung off ropes, even carved our names into one of the big branches. I knew every line of its bark like it was a friend. But in the photo, it wasn't an oak. It was a maple. Same size, same age almost, but wrong shape, wrong leaves. It just wasn't the tree I grew up with. I thought maybe I'd misremembered, so I turned more pages. Another picture of the garden, a birthday party with balloons tied to branches, and again, no oak. Same maple tree. My stomach flipped. I rang Mum straight away. It was late, she sounded half asleep. I said, "Mom, what happened to the oak tree?" She went quiet, then laughed a bit like I was joking. We've never had an oak, love. It's always been a maple. That's the tree you kids played on. I didn't know what to say. I told her about the carvings, the treehouse, how sure I was. She just sounded baffled, swore blind it had always been a maple. I hung up unsettled, convinced she was playing some weird prank. A couple of months later, term ended, and I went back for the holidays. Hugged Mum and Dad at the door, barely said a word before heading straight into the garden. And there it was, a big maple tree, wide branches, smooth bark. Not the oak I remembered, but the carvings were still there, exactly where I thought they'd be. My name, my mate's, the same clumsy initials, only now cut into maple wood. I stood there a long while, just staring, not sure if I'd remembered wrong all these years, or if something else had changed. Even now, I don't know. I feel like I suddenly ended up in some other reality, where the tree was different. I don't know how to explain. Now I just hope that it will be only the tree, not something else. An oak becomes a maple. A certainty becomes a question. Was it memory failing, or a world that quietly rewrote itself while no one was watching? Our final story begins in the stillness of an old family flat. where grief can play tricks on the mind. Shadows linger longer, silence feels heavier, and sometimes the warnings come from places we can't explain. This is one of those nights. It happened to me a few months ago, still giving me goosebumps. So, here it goes. When my grandmother passed away, I was the one who had to deal with her flat while the family sorted out the property stuff. So for a couple of weeks, I stayed there. It was one of those proper old flats, high ceilings, heavy curtains, the smell of old wood and lavender. A bit creepy at night, to be honest. Antique furniture everywhere, porcelain dolls, photos in marsh frames. You get the picture. And on her bedside table was this phone. Not a modern landline, but an ebony black rotary phone from the 40s or 50s. She loved it. She'd spend hours gossiping with her friends on that phone, even though she had a mobile she never really touched. By the time I was staying there, the line had been disconnected for weeks. Nobody was paying the bill. And I needed space by the bed, so I unplugged the wire and moved the phone onto a side cabinet across the room. Just a piece of furniture now. One night, maybe around 2 or 3 in the morning, I woke up to a sound that froze my blood. The phone was ringing. That heavy old bell ring, loud and sharp. I sat up, staring at it in the dark, heart hammering. It couldn't be. The thing wasn't even plugged in. I stumbled over, picked up the receiver with shaking hands. At first, nothing, just faint static. I said hello, once, twice. And then, a whisper, clear as anything. Don't let them in. I swear, it was my grand's voice. I just stood there in the dark, clutching the receiver like an idiot, not knowing if I was awake or dreaming. My chest tight, trying to breathe. Sleep paralysis? Some kind of vivid dream? I'd heard of it, but never had it. And then, a loud knock on the front door. I nearly jumped out of my skin. Another knock, heavier. My legs went cold. I crept to the door, silent, holding my breath. From the other side, a man's voice. Mate, sorry, we're neighbors. We've locked ourselves out. Could you open up? Let us climb through your balcony. I peered through the peephole. A man and a young woman, standing there looking casual enough. They didn't look like gangsters, but something was off. The words from the phone were pounding in my head like a heartbeat. Don't let them in. Don't let them in. I didn't move, didn't speak, just stood frozen behind the door. After a while, they knocked once more, then left. Eventually, I went back to bed, somehow, tossed and turned until morning. The next day, I spent out, trying to forget about it. Coming back in the evening, I bumped into one of the real neighbors downstairs. She mentioned casually, "Did you hear? Old Mr. Clark in the next block got robbed last night. Opened his door to someone and they attacked him, took everything. poor man's in hospital. I didn't know what to say. My stomach just dropped. I immediately understood what exactly happened. To this day, I can't tell you what really that was with the phone that night. Whether it was a dream, some strange coincidence, or if my gran actually found a way to warn me. But I know this: I didn't open that door. The flat later was sold, and my grandmother's antique nest were left in history. But I kept the phone in case she wants to call again one day. A warning whispered through a dead line. A knock that never should have been answered. Was it chance? Or a voice that reached across the divide? Sometimes the ones we lose find ways to stay with us, if only for a moment. Three stories. A man who exists twice. A tree that refuses to stay the same. A voice that carries past death. Different people, different places, yet all sharing one truth. Reality isn't fixed. It bends, it shifts, and sometimes it lets us glimpse a version we weren't meant to see. The question is, when your turn comes, will you notice the change? Or will you only realize it when it's already too late?